My sister Megan got to her feet at the Thanksgiving dinner table, a triumphant gleam in her eye. She gently tapped her wine glass with a fork, and a hush fell over our family, all of them poised for some joyous announcement. "I have the most incredible news," she declared, her voice overflowing with self-satisfaction. My parents, Robert and Susan, were already smiling at her, a pair of co-conspirators. They knew what she was about to say. "Mom and Dad are signing the house over to me," Megan proclaimed. Then her gaze found mine across the table, her smile stretching wider, whiter. "And Clara, you get nothing." The room erupted. My aunts and uncles let out a wave of cheers. One of them whistled. My father nodded, his expression one of pure pride. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't raise my voice. I just felt a profound stillness settle over the world. I slowly set my own fork down on my plate, the small clink of metal on ceramic echoing loudly in the silence that had enveloped me. My eyes looked past my sister, past my mother, and landed squarely on my father. "Dad," I said. My voice was low, but it carried across the room. "Should I tell them the truth, or will you?" The cheering choked off. Every single smile in that room withered and died. My father's face went bone white. In that moment, something was over, and something new, something that could never be undone, had just begun. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, where in the world are you watching from? My name is Clara Evans. I'm 32 years old. I live in Denver in a modest one-bedroom apartment that I cover all by myself. I'm a data scientist, which means I spend my days sifting through numbers, looking for the patterns hidden within. It's a job that suits me. I'm not a fan of surprises. I am the invisible daughter. My parents, Robert and Susan Evans, had 2 children, me and my sister Megan. But in their eyes, there was only ever one. Megan was the sun. She was brilliant and loud, and everyone was drawn into her orbit. She had a natural charm, and she learned from a young age that a well-timed smile and a little laugh could absolve her of any wrongdoing. She was beautiful. She was their golden girl. I was her shadow. I was the reliable one. That sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? The reliable one. It's not a compliment. It's a sentence. It's a box they put you in. It means you're the one who cleans up the messes. It means you're the one who isn't allowed to have messy feelings. My entire life was governed by a double standard. When I was 10, I won the school science fair. I ran home to show my father the blue ribbon. He gave a single nod. "Good," he said. "Don't let it go to your head." That very same week, Megan, who was 12, failed a history exam. My parents took her out for a fancy dinner. They told her they were just so proud that she had tried her best. When I was 15, I had a list of chores: mowing the lawn, my own laundry, and cleaning the bathrooms. Megan's only chore was to take out the recycling. More often than not, I'd find her lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone while the bins overflowed. "Megan, it's your turn," I'd say. She would let out a long, theatrical sigh. "I'm busy, Clara. Why are you so obsessed with it?" Then my mother would appear. She would never look at Megan. Her eyes would be fixed on me. "Clara, stop bothering your sister. She's had a hard day. Just do it for her. It's not that important." It was never that important. My work was never important. My time was never important. My feelings were never important. Megan got the praise, she got the patience, she got their full attention. When she turned 16, she fixated on a particular car, a brand new blue sports car. My parents initially told her no, explaining that it was far too expensive. Megan responded by locking herself in her bedroom and crying for 2 solid days, refusing all food. On the third day, a shiny blue sports car sat in our driveway. My father looked utterly drained, but Megan was happy, so the entire household was happy. When I turned 16, my father co-signed a loan for a 12-year-old gray hatchback. "You'll pay for the insurance, the gas, and the loan payments," he instructed. "This is how you learn responsibility." I got a job at a local diner to pay for it all. I worked 20 hours a week while taking advanced placement classes. I paid for the car. I paid for the insurance. I paid for the gas. One night, Megan took my car without even asking. She was heading to a party. She crashed it, taking out a neighbor's fence. My parents paid for the fence. They made me pay for the repairs to my own car. "You should have hidden your keys better," my dad said, without a hint of irony. "You know how she is." I knew how she was. I knew how they all were. I knew I had to get out. I studied relentlessly. I worked. I applied for every scholarship imaginable. When I received a full-ride scholarship to a university in Denver, I broke down and cried. I was finally getting away. I shared the news with my family at dinner. My mother's face immediately fell. "Denver," she said, "but that's so far away. Who's going to help me around here?" My father just shook his head. "We gave you a good home. We gave you everything, and you're just going to run off. That sounds ungrateful, Clara." Megan just laughed. "I don't know why you'd want to leave," she said. "Everyone loves you here." Everyone loves you here, I thought. I left. I took my scholarship and my part-time job earnings and I moved to Denver. I built a life, a quiet life, a small life. But it was mine. The responsibility, however, didn't end. It just went long distance. The phone calls began about 6 months after I moved. They never called to ask how I was doing. They never inquired about my classes or my job or if I'd made any friends. The calls were always about a crisis. "Clara, the furnace just died," my dad's voice. "We just don't have the $900 for it right now. You know, Megan needs new brakes for her car." I was 20. I was subsisting on instant noodles most nights, but I looked at my tiny savings account. I was the reliable one. "Okay, Dad, I'll send it." I sent it 2 years later. "Clara, the property taxes are coming up. We're just a little short." I sent it. "Your mother needs some dental work. The insurance barely covers anything." "Clara, the roof has a leak." "Clara, Megan's maxed out another credit card. They're talking about taking her to court. We can't have that." I paid. I kept on paying. I wired money home every single month for repairs that never seemed to get done, for bills, for promises that were never fulfilled. I told myself I was just helping my family. I told myself it was what a good daughter would do, but I was just their janitor. I was still cleaning up all their messes. I was paying for the privilege of being their shadow. I'm 32 now. I have a 401k with a few $1,000s in it. I have my own life, but I was still sending them money. Until 6 months ago. Until the phone call that changed the trajectory of everything. They had been using me my entire life. They had consumed my time, my energy, and my money. I was the invisible daughter until they needed something, and 6 months ago, they decided they needed everything. They decided it was time for the reliable one to absorb the biggest mess of them all. They just never anticipated that I would finally say no. It was a Tuesday in May, 6 months before that Thanksgiving. My phone buzzed. It was my mother, Susan. My stomach twisted into a familiar knot, but her voice was different. It wasn't the usual, "we have a problem" voice. It was a fake, sugary, sweet voice. It was the voice she reserved for neighbors, or for when she was trying to get a deal somewhere. It was her, We're a perfect, happy family voice. It was the most dangerous voice I knew. Clara, honey, how are you? I'm fine, Mom. What's wrong? I've learned not to waste time on pleasantries. They taught me that. Nothing's wrong, Clara. Why must you always assume something is wrong? I'm just calling my daughter. Can't a mother just call her daughter? I stayed silent. I waited for it. Anyway, she said, her voice tightening just a bit. Your father and we've been talking. We really need you to come home this weekend. There's something important we want to go over with you. What is it? You can tell me over the phone. Oh, it's just paperwork. It's a bit complicated. Your father will explain it. It's good news. We want to include you. That was the word, the giant red flag. Include. They never included me. I was the stage crew. Megan was the star. If they were including me, it meant they needed a signature. It meant they needed a blank check. I'm busy this weekend, Mom. Clara, please. Her voice shifted. The sweetness evaporated. Now it was her, you're a bad daughter voice. It's very important. It's about the house. It's about your future. Don't be difficult. Don't be difficult. That was the refrain of my childhood. Clara, don't be difficult. It meant don't ask questions, don't have an opinion. Just do as you're told. Fine, I sighed. I'll drive down Saturday. The 3-hour drive from Denver to Oak Creek felt heavy. My chest was tight. I felt like I was 15 again, being called to the principal's office for something Megan had done. I was walking into an ambush. I just didn't know what kind. I let myself into the house. It looked the same, but a little shabbier. The paint on the porch steps was flaking. I'd sent them money for that last summer, for a painter. I briefly wondered where that money had actually gone. They were waiting for me at the kitchen table. My mother, Susan. My father, Robert. Megan was out with friends. Of course she was. The reliable one was here for the serious business. The golden girl was out having a good time. Clara, glad you could make it, my father said, avoiding my gaze. He was always a terrible liar. Sit down, honey, my mother said, gesturing to a chair. I sat. My father cleared his throat and pushed a thick manila folder toward me. Clara, your mother and we're not getting any younger. We've been thinking about the future, about this house. He tapped the folder. We're going to refinance the house, and we want to make you a part of it officially. My mother beamed a fake, bright smile. We want to put your name on the house, honey. It's a wonderful asset. We want you to have a stake in it as a thank you for all you've done. A cold, sharp sensation shot up my spine. A thank you. They had never once said thank you in my entire life. Not for the money, not for the chores, not for my silence. I opened the folder. It was dense, filled with page after page of legalese. I didn't recognize most of the terms. Affidavit, quitclaim deed, agreement of liability. This looks like more than just a refinance, Dad. Oh, it's just bank nonsense, he said, waving his hand dismissively. You know how they are, lawyers and their jargon. It's all just a formality. It just needs your signature, my mother said. She pushed a pen in my direction. Right here, she pointed to a yellow sticky tab. And here, and here. My hand hovered over the document. My heart was hammering in my chest. My instinct, that deep gut feeling of the perennial victim who always knows when the next blow is about to land, was screaming. It was screaming, trap. I want to read this first, I said. My mother's smile tightened at the edges. Oh, Clara, don't be so difficult. It's just bank papers. Your father read it. It's fine. If it's fine, then you won't mind if I take it with me, I said. I'll read it on the drive back. No, my father said too loudly. He tried to recover. No, it needs to be signed this weekend. It's time sensitive. Then I'm not signing it. My mother's face transformed from sweet to ugly in a heartbeat. Clara Evans, after everything we have done for you, we are giving you a part of this house. We are trying to do something nice for you. And this is how you repay us? With suspicion? What is wrong with you? I looked at my father. What is this, Dad? He wouldn't meet my eyes. He just stared at the folder. It's a refinance, Clara. It's to get a better interest rate. I stood up. I put the papers back into the folder and picked it up. You can't take those, my father said, rising to his feet. I'm not signing anything without my lawyer looking at it, I said, my voice shaking slightly but my tone firm. Since it's a legal document. A lawyer? My mother shrieked. A lawyer? We're family. You don't bring lawyers into family business. You are so ungrateful, so selfish. I'll be in touch, I said. I walked out of that house. I got into my car and locked the doors. I drove all the way back to Denver feeling nauseous. The following Monday, I was in the office of Mrs. Diaz. She was a lawyer I had used to review my apartment lease. She was sharp and all business. She took the papers and read them in silence for a long, long time. She read every single page. Finally, she took off her reading glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. She looked at me, and there was no kindness in her face. There was only pity, and that was somehow worse. Clara, she said, I'm going to be very direct with you. Please do, I said. This is not a refinance. This is not a gift. This is not an asset. She turned the first page toward me. This, she said, is a liability assumption agreement and a quit-claim deed. What does that mean? It means, she said, her voice steady, that your parents are attempting to transfer the full 100% legal debt of that house to you, and only you. They would be quitting their claim. You would be assuming all liability. My blood ran cold. But the house, it's an asset, right? I don't know what liens are on the house, Mrs. Diaz said, but based on these documents, they are designed to protect the bank and the original lenders. By signing this, you would become solely responsible for every outstanding loan, every mortgage, every lien, and all property taxes past and future. Your parents would walk away scot-free, and you, Clara, you would be ruined. They are trying to pass their debt to you. I just sat there stunned. The air felt like it had been sucked out of my lungs. Ruined. They told me it was a gift, I whispered. Mrs. Diaz leaned forward. This is not a gift, honey. This is a trap. I was numb. I walked out of the lawyer's office and stood on a bustling Denver street. People were rushing to lunch. The world was moving on as normal. But my world had just ground to a halt. A trap. You would be ruined. I went back to my apartment. The manila folder was sitting on my kitchen counter. It looked like a venomous snake. I sat on my sofa and didn't move for over an hour. I thought about the money for the furnace, the money for the taxes, the money for Megan's credit card. I wasn't a daughter. I was an emergency fund. I was the person they called to fix their problems. And now the problem was too big, so they tried to just give it to me. A new feeling began to bloom inside me. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't the old familiar sting of being the forgotten one. It was anger. A cold, hard, quiet anger. I picked up my phone and called my father. He answered on the first ring. Clara, did you sign the papers? His voice was hopeful. He thought I'd come to my senses. I spoke to a lawyer, Dad. The silence on the other end of the line was thick and heavy. Ah, a lawyer? He stammered. His voice turned hard. You brought a stranger into our family business? What did you do, Clara? She told me what this is. A liability assumption agreement. She said you're trying to pass your debt to me. More silence. Then a theatrical sigh. The victim dad voice, the one he always used when he was caught. We're in trouble, Clara, he whispered. We're in real trouble. We didn't know what else to do. We're drowning. What trouble? I asked. My voice was frigid. I didn't even recognize it as my own. The house, he said. It's not paid off. I know that, Dad. You have a mortgage. No, Clara, we have 2 mortgages. We took out a second one a few years ago to help Megan. With her car loan. I pictured the blue sports car. And we're behind, he admitted. We're very behind. How behind? Months. They sent a letter. They're talking. Foreclosure. Foreclosure. The word hung in the air between us. All the money I had sent them, all those years, it was like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. So you tried to trick me, I said, my voice low. You tried to lock me in. You were going to let me sign that and let me be responsible for your foreclosure. We gave you everything, he suddenly yelled, the victim vanishing, the bully returning. We raised you. We fed you. This is the least you could do. We just needed a little help. This isn't a little help, Dad. This is my entire financial future. You were going to let me be ruined. You smiled at me while you tried to do it. Don't be so dramatic, Clara. It's just a house. No, I said. What? No. I'm not signing it. I'm not paying for it. I am not your reliable one anymore. I'm done. Clara, he said, his voice dropping to a hiss. Clara, don't you dare. No. He hung up on me. I stared at my phone. He had hung up on me. The next few weeks were eerily quiet. For the first time in my adult life, my phone didn't ring with a crisis from home. No. Clara, the roof. No. Clara, the car. The silence was deafening. It was the sound of being disowned, of being cut off completely. At first, it stung. It was the old, familiar hurt. I failed. I'm the bad daughter. But then, a different feeling began to take its place. It felt good. It felt light. I wasn't constantly waiting for the next emergency. I wasn't checking my bank account, wondering when the next demand from home would arrive. I was just living. I was paying my own bills. I was saving my own money. I went out for dinner with my friends. I bought a new pair of boots, just because I wanted to. The silence stretched through June, all of July, August. I heard nothing from my mother, nothing from my father, nothing from Megan. Then in September, I was scrolling through Instagram. I didn't follow Megan. She had blocked me years ago, after I'd made a comment about her borrowing my sweater. But a cousin I followed had liked her post, so it appeared in my feed. The picture was of Megan. She was standing on the front porch of the house in Oak Creek. My parents were on either side of her, all of them in a group hug. They were all beaming. My mother's smile was enormous. My father looked so proud. And Megan was holding up a set of house keys. The caption read, "It's official. So excited for this next chapter. Big, big, big news coming soon. Mom and Dad are the absolute best. I'm the luckiest girl in the world, ready to finally be a homeowner. Blessed family, new beginnings, homeowner." My blood turned to ice. Homeowner. I clicked on her profile. It was public now. She wanted the whole world to see her good fortune. I scrolled. A post from 2 weeks prior. Shopping for new paint colors, goodbye beige. A post from 1 week ago. Looking at kitchen designs. So many amazing choices. A post from 2 days ago. A picture of her with a new guy. She was showing off an engagement ring. He said yes, not just a new house, a new fiancé. Meet Kevin. And then it hit me. It hit me so hard I literally had to sit down. Oh my God. They had tried to give the debt to me. I had said no. I was the difficult one. I was the ungrateful one. So they found someone else who would say yes. They found their golden girl. But they didn't tell her the truth. They didn't give her the folder of legal papers and a pen. They didn't corner her at the kitchen table. No. They presented it to her as a gift. They wrapped the bomb in a pretty pink bow. They told her she was blessed. They told her she was the luckiest girl in the world. They were letting her walk blindly into the exact same trap. But this time, they were helping her decorate it. They were letting her plan her new kitchen while the bank was planning the foreclosure. They weren't just going to let her be ruined. They were going to let her be ruined and think it was somehow her own fault. This was so much worse than what they had tried to do to me. This was monstrous. They were going to sacrifice their favorite daughter, and they were smiling while they did it. That was the moment. That was when I stopped being angry. That was when I stopped being hurt. I just got cold. I went to my desk. I opened my laptop. I'm a data scientist. I find patterns. I find data. I thought, okay, let's find the data. The next 2 months were quiet on the outside. I did my job. I went to the gym. I paid my rent. But at night, I worked. I wasn't just the invisible daughter anymore. I was the analyst, and I'm good at my job. I know how to search public records. I know how to read legal filings. Mrs. Diaz had shown me what to look for. I found the first mortgage. I found the second mortgage, the one from the high-interest predatory lender my dad had mentioned. The interest rate was criminal. Then I found the public notices. The first notice of default, the second, the notice of trustee sale. They weren't just talking about foreclosure. It was scheduled for the second week of January. My parents were lying to everyone. They were lying to Megan. They were lying to her new fiancé, Kevin. I printed every single document, the default letters, the overdue statements, the official foreclosure notice from the county clerk. I put every piece of paper into a neat black binder. I made copies. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't being dramatic Clara. I was just an analyst presenting the data. Then, the first week of November, the text message arrived. It was from my mother. Family Thanksgiving, dinner at 2 p.m. Megan is bringing Kevin. Don't be late. Just like that. As if she hadn't tried to ruin my life. As if she wasn't currently in the process of ruining my sister's life. As if we were a normal, happy family. I looked at the text. I looked at the black binder on my desk. I almost didn't go. I almost blocked her number and threw the binder in the trash, letting them all drown in their own mess. But then I thought of Megan. She was arrogant. She was selfish. She had been cruel to me my entire life. But she didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve to be homeless and bankrupt before she was even married. I wasn't going to save her. I wasn't the reliable one anymore. I was done saving people. But I was going to bring the truth. The truth isn't about saving. The truth is just the truth, I texted back. See you then. I drove to Oak Creek on Thanksgiving Day. The same 3-hour drive. The same sick feeling in my stomach. But this time it wasn't just nerves. It was steel. It was quiet. It was calm. I parked my car down the block. I grabbed my purse, and I grabbed the black binder. I walked up the porch steps. The peeling paint was still there. A welcome mat was askew. I opened the front door. The house smelled like roast turkey and cinnamon and deceit. My mother Susan saw me first. Her face went through a rapid, ugly series of twitches. Surprise, fear. And then the mask slipped into place, the happy hostess mask. Clara, honey, you made it. She rushed to me and gave me a hug. It was like hugging a bundle of dry sticks. She was wound so tight. We were so worried you wouldn't come, she whispered. Her smile stretched so thin I thought it might crack. "You invited me," I said, my voice flat. She didn't know what to say to that. She just patted my arm. "Well, come in, come in. Everyone's here." I saw my father, Robert. He was in the living room pretending to watch football with an intensity it didn't deserve. "Dad," I said. He glanced up. "Clara." Then his eyes darted right back to the TV. He couldn't look at me. He knew what I had in my hand. He didn't know what was in it, but he knew it was the folder, the one I'd taken from him 6 months ago. He thought it was the same one. He was wrong. This one was so much worse. Megan and her fiancé, Kevin, weren't there yet. They were, of course, planning a grand entrance. My aunts and uncles were there. They all offered their usual greetings. "Clara, you look so thin." "Clara, still living in that big city? When are you going to find a nice man like your sister?" I just nodded and smiled. I was a ghost to these people. I just floated through the room. Then I saw her, my grandmother, Eleanor, my father's mother. She was sitting in the corner armchair, the old wingback by the fireplace. Eleanor is a woman of few words. She is old, but her eyes are sharp. She misses nothing. She never liked my mother. She never said it, but she didn't have to. I walked over to her. "Grandma," I said. She looked up at me. Her eyes were clear. They weren't clouded with the fake cheer that filled the rest of the house. She looked at my face. She looked at my father, who was pointedly ignoring my existence. She looked at my mother, who was fluttering around the kitchen, talking too loudly. And then her eyes, her sharp, clear eyes, landed on the black binder I was holding at my side. I wasn't brandishing it, but she saw it. She didn't ask what it was. She didn't ask how I was. She just held my gaze, and she gave me one slow, deliberate nod. It was a nod that said, "It's time." It was a nod that said, "Finally." It was a nod that said, "Do it." In that one silent gesture, I felt more of a sense of family than I had in 30 years. I went into the dining room. I found my place setting, the one they always put me at by the kitchen door, the one where I have to get up every time someone needs more napkins or salt, the reliable one's seat. I sat down, I put the binder on my lap, and I waited. I waited for Megan to arrive. I waited for the dinner to begin. I waited for the good news. I was perfectly, utterly calm. This was the calm before the storm, but this time I wasn't the one about to be washed away. This time I was the storm. Megan and Kevin arrived an hour late, making their grand entrance. The room paused. Megan was in a bright red dress, the kind you wear to a nightclub, not a family dinner. Kevin was in a crisp shirt and blazer, looking like he was about to close a business deal. "Sorry we're late," Megan chirped. She wasn't sorry at all. She loved being the last one to arrive, the center of attention. "Megan, Kevin!" My father, Robert, boomed. He stood and hugged her tightly, shaking Kevin's hand with a bit too much force. "So glad you could make it. You look wonderful." My mother, Susan, rushed over. "Oh, Megan, you look stunning. That dress. Everyone, doesn't she look stunning?" The room dutifully agreed. "Beautiful. Just lovely." I just sat at my end of the table, the reliable seat, and I watched. Kevin was introduced around. He was polite, confident. He had a firm handshake and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He was a financial planner. I had to suppress a laugh. He planned finances. He was in the wrong house. We all sat down and the meal began. The conversation was boisterous, but it was all focused on one end of the table. "Kevin, tell us about your firm." "Megan, the wedding. We want to hear all about it." "Oh, the ring is just gorgeous." Megan was in her element. She was the queen. "We're thinking next spring," she announced. "A big wedding. We deserve it." "Whatever my girl wants," my father declared, raising his wine glass. I was invisible, a ghost. I ate my food. It tasted of nothing. I could feel my father glancing my way, though. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the black binder in my lap. I had placed it there deliberately. I wasn't hiding it. He was getting nervous. He kept refilling his wine glass. My mother saw it too. She shot me a look from across the table, a sharp warning look, the "don't you dare ruin this" look. "Clara, honey," she said, her voice strained but sweet, "put that work away. It's Thanksgiving. No one wants to see your files." "It's not work, Mom," I said, my voice quiet. Megan heard me. "Oh, is that for us?" She laughed, a mean little titter. "Did you finally get me a real wedding present, Clara? Or is it just more of your spreadsheets?" "Something like that," I said. The room got a little quiet. My father cleared his throat, trying to regain control. He stood up, holding his wine glass. "Well, this is a wonderful day, a day to be thankful. Thankful for family, for health, and for new beginnings." He was looking right at Megan. My mother was beaming. This was rehearsed. It was a performance. Megan giggled, placing her hand on Kevin's arm. "Oh, Dad, you're stealing my thunder." "What is it, honey?" my mother asked, her acting skills on full display. She knew exactly what was coming. This was the moment. The reason I was invited. I was the audience. I was the witness to Megan's final victory. Megan stood up. She looked beautiful and radiantly happy. She picked up her wine glass and tapped it with her fork. That clink, clink, clink sound. The sound that meant, "Everyone look at me." "Hi, everyone," she said, her voice bright and clear. "Kevin and I, well, we're just so happy, and we have some very, very exciting news." She looked at my parents. "Mom, Dad, thank you for everything. You are the most generous, most wonderful parents in the world." My mother put a hand to her heart. "Oh, honey." "Kevin and I are so excited to start our life together," Megan continued. "And now we have the perfect place to do it. A place that means so much to me." She beamed at the whole room, an actress on her stage. "I have wonderful news," she said. "Mom and Dad are signing the house over to me." She paused, letting the words sink in. Then she turned. She looked right at me, all the way down the table. Her smile was sharp, victorious. She had been waiting her whole life to win this completely. "And Clara," she announced, "you get nothing." The room exploded in cheers. My Uncle Mark whistled. My Aunt Karen clapped her hands. "Congratulations!" "Oh, Megan, that's wonderful." "Robert, Susan, what a generous gift." My parents were soaking it all in. My father looked so proud. My mother was crying happy tears. Kevin looked pleased, smiling that professional financial planner smile. He put his arm around Megan's waist. He was the man who had it all, the perfect fiancé, a free house, and me. I just sat there. I watched them. I watched the cheering. I watched my sister's smug, triumphant face. And I felt nothing. The hurt was gone. The old sting, the "it's not fair," the little girl who just wanted her dad to be proud of her. She was gone. My heart didn't ache. It didn't break. It just hardened. It felt like a stone in my chest. I looked at Megan. She was an idiot, a smiling, happy, arrogant idiot. She thought she'd won. She thought this was a blessing. She was bragging about her own execution. The cheering finally subsided. Megan was still standing, waiting for me to cry, to yell, to be dramatic Clara. I didn't. I just slowly placed my fork on my plate. The clink was small, but it cut through the room. Then I picked up the black binder from my lap. I placed it on the white tablecloth, right next to the gravy boat. The thud was quiet, but it was final. Every sound in the room died. Megan's smile faltered. Clara, what are you doing? Don't you dare ruin this for me. My father's face went pale. He knew that folder, or he thought he did. Dad, I said. My voice was quiet, steady, cold. Should I tell them the truth, or will you? No one moved. My mother's happy tears froze on her cheeks. Kevin's professional smile vanished. My relatives looked from me to my father, confused. Clara, stop it, my father hissed. This is not the time. When is the time, Dad? I asked. When the sheriff posts the notice on the door, or when the bank repossesses her new engagement ring. What? Megan said, her voice small. What? What is she talking about? I looked at my sister who had gotten everything, my sister who had taken everything, and I almost felt sorry for her. Megan, I said, before you celebrate, maybe you should read what you're inheriting. I pushed the binder toward the center of the table. It sat there, black and heavy. The truth. The silence in the dining room was awful. It was heavy and thick. You could hear the old grandfather clock ticking in the hall. You could hear my Aunt Karen's nervous breathing. Megan just stared at the binder. She didn't move. She was a statue in a red dress. Clara, I am warning you, my father said, his voice low and threatening. He was trying to sound powerful, but he just sounded scared. You put that away right now. What is in there? Kevin, the fiancé, asked. His voice was sharp. He was no longer the polite guest. He was the financial planner who had just smelled a massive risk. Don't, my mother whispered. She looked at me, her eyes pleading. Clara, please. You're making a scene. You're ruining Thanksgiving. I'm not the one who made the scene, Mom, I said. You did. He did. I nodded at my father. You made this scene 6 months ago when you tried to trick me. You made it when you lied to Megan. This is just the end of the scene. What is she talking about? Megan's voice was a wail. Mom? Dad? What is this? What is in the folder? They were frozen. So I stood up. My chair scraped against the wood floor, a loud, ugly sound. I reached across the table and grabbed the binder. You want to know what this is? I asked the room. You all just cheered. You all just celebrated this gift. You want to see the gift? I unfastened the flap. I pulled out the first piece of paper. This, I said, holding it up, is the statement for the first mortgage, the one they got when they bought the house 25 years ago. See this number? I pointed. That's the principal. It's almost the same as it was then. They've just been paying the interest for 25 years. I tossed the paper onto the table. It landed in the mashed potatoes. I pulled out the next one. And this, I said, is the fun one. This is the second mortgage, the high-interest home equity loan. The one from a predatory lender I've never even heard of. The one they took out to pay for. What was it, Dad? Megan's blue sports car? Her credit cards? My father's face was turning purple. You have no right. I have every right, I shot back. You gave me the right when you tried to make me sign this exact same debt. You gave me the right when you tried to ruin me. Kevin's head snapped toward my father. A second mortgage, Robert? And this, I said, my voice growing stronger, is the notice of default from August. They are 3 months behind. And this one from September, 4 months behind. And this one from October, 5 months. I was throwing them down, one by one, paper after paper, scattering across the turkey and green bean casserole. They're behind, Kevin, I said, looking right at him. He was the only one in the room who might understand the language. They're not just a little behind, they are drowning. What? No! Megan was shaking her head in denial. No, they told me it was all paid off. She looked at my mother. You told me it was paid off. And finally, I said, holding up the last, thickest piece of paper. It had a red stamp on it. This is the notice of trustee sale. This is the official foreclosure notice from the county. The bank is selling this house at auction on January 15th. The room erupted. My Aunt Karen gasped. "Susan? Robert, is this true?" My Uncle Mark, who had been whistling just minutes before, just stared, mouth agape. Foreclosure. "They're not signing the house over to Megan," I said, my voice cutting through the rising noise. "They are sacrificing her. They are trying to pass the debt to her so when the bank comes, she's the one left holding the bag, not them." Megan's eyes were wide with horror. She looked from me to my father to my mother. "Mom," she whispered, "is that true? Tell me she's lying." My mother, Susan, just sobbed, burying her face in her hands. She wouldn't look at her daughter. She wouldn't look at her golden girl. "Dad?" Megan tried. My father stood up so fast his chair almost fell over. He slammed his fist on the table. The glasses jumped. "You!" he screamed at me. You bitch! You ungrateful, jealous bitch! You couldn't stand to see her happy." "They're behind on 2 mortgages," I repeated, my voice calm and steady. "And the house is being foreclosed on." Megan looked at me, her face utterly broken. They told me it was paid off," she whispered again. This was the moment, the final, terrible connection. I looked right at my sister, and for the first time in my life, I didn't see the golden girl. I saw another victim. "I know," I said, my voice soft. "They told me that too, 6 months ago." I turned to the whole room. "They told me that right before they asked me to sign my name to their debt." The room went dead silent. Kevin looked at me. "They asked you to sign for this?" "They called me home," I said. "They sat me at this exact table. They said it was a refinance, a gift. They handed me a pen. They told me I was ungrateful when I said I wanted a lawyer to read it first." "And what did you do?" Kevin asked, his voice cold as ice. "I took it to a lawyer," I said, "and I told them no. The truth was out, all of it. It was terrible, and it was clean. My grandmother Eleanor had been silent this entire time, just watching." She pushed back her chair and stood up. She looked at me. She looked at the papers strewn across the table. She looked at her son, Robert, and she said, her voice clear and strong, "Finally." Kevin, the financial planner, had not moved. He was processing the information. His face had gone from tan and confident to a pale, sickly green. He slowly turned his head. He didn't look at me. He looked at Megan. "Megan," he said, his voice quiet, terrifying. "What is this?" I... Megan was crying hard now, mascara streaming down her face. Her red party dress looked absurd. "I didn't know, Kevin. I swear I didn't know. They told me it was a gift. They told me it was all paid for. I wanted to surprise you." "You told me it was free and clear," Kevin said, his voice flat. "We talked about this. We ran the numbers. We based our entire financial plan on this asset." He looked at my father. "You," he said. "You looked me in the eye. You shook my hand. You told me this house was a legacy for your daughter." My father, Robert, who had been yelling at me moments before, now looked small. He was facing a man he couldn't bully, a man he had tried to swindle. "Now, son," my father started, his voice weak, It's just a financial complication, a small misunderstanding. We can sort this out." "A complication?" Kevin laughed. It was a horrible, sharp sound. "You call foreclosure a complication? You call 2 mortgages and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt a complication? You were going to let me marry into this fraud." "It's not fraud," my mother wailed from behind her hands. We didn't know what to do. We needed help. We thought..." "You thought you'd pass the buck," Kevin finished for her. He stood up. He was calm. He was a professional again, cutting his losses. He straightened his shirt and buttoned his blazer. "Megan," he said. "Kevin, no," she whispered, grabbing his arm. "Please, we can fix this. I don't care about the house. I don't. I care about you." He looked down at her hand on his arm as if it were something filthy. He looked at her ruined, tear-streaked face. "You told me the house was free and clear," he said again. "That means one of two things. Either you lied to me, or you are the stupidest, most naive person I have ever met." Megan flinched as if he'd slapped her. "I'm not going to build a life on this," he said. "I'm not starting my marriage, my life, in a hole of your family's debt. I'm not cleaning up this mess." "Kevin, please," she begged. He pulled his arm away from her. He didn't yell. He didn't cause a scene. He just exited. "I'm going back to the city," he said. "Send me your half of the catering deposit. I'm canceling the checks." He walked out of the dining room. We heard the front door open. We heard it shut. He was gone. For a full 10 seconds, the only sound was Megan's breathing, a series of fast, hiccuping gasps. Then she collapsed. She didn't faint. She just folded. She slumped into her chair and put her head down on the table, right on top of the foreclosure notices and the cold gravy. And she sobbed. It was not her fake crying. It was not her, "I want a sports car" crying. This was real. This was the sound of a life breaking apart. It was a raw, ugly, painful sound. My mother, Susan, finally looked up. Her face was a mess of makeup and tears. But when she saw Megan, her sadness curdled into rage, and she looked right at me. "You did this," she whispered. "Susan," my grandmother started. "No!" my mother screamed, getting to her feet. You monster! You ruined your sister's life. She was happy. She was finally happy. And you were just jealous." My father pointed a shaking finger at me. "You ruined everything," he roared. "We had a plan. We were going to be fine. It was all going to be handled. And you just had to come here and destroy it." "A plan?" I said. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Your plan was to let your daughter and her new husband get foreclosed on? Your plan was to let them be homeless? How was that going to be handled, Dad?" "Kevin would have figured it out," my father yelled. "He's a financial planner. He would have helped us. He would have fixed it." And there it was, the final, pathetic, stupid truth. They weren't just sacrificing Megan. They were trying to bait Kevin. They were hoping to trap a man who could fix their lifelong mess. I just looked at him. "He just left, Dad." "Because of you," he screamed. "He left because you aired our dirty laundry. This is family. You don't do this to family." The other relatives were starting to stir, embarrassed. They were grabbing their coats, trying to become invisible. "We should go, Susan," my Uncle Mark said, pulling his wife's arm. "Yes, we'll talk later. So sorry." They were running, rats leaving the sinking ship. They didn't want to be associated with this disaster. Soon, the only people left in the room were me, my parents, my weeping sister, and my grandmother. My father paced back and forth. My mother was trying to comfort Megan, but Megan was pushing her away. "You lied to me. You lied. You told me it was a gift." My father stopped pacing. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a pure, hot hate. It was the hate of a man who has been utterly exposed. "You ruined everything," he said again, his voice dead. I stood there and looked at the mess, the papers, the food, the crying, the hate. I felt calm. I felt empty, but not in a bad way. I was done. I looked my father right in the eye. "No, Dad," I said, my voice quiet but clear. "I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped pretending everything was fine." My words hung in the air. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. My father stared at me. He had no answer. The bully was out of punches. My mother was still trying to touch Megan. "Megan, honey, please, let's go upstairs. We'll talk. We'll fix this. We can call him." "Fix it?" Megan screamed, her voice raw. "How can you fix it? He left me. He's gone. My life is over, and it's your fault." "It's her fault," my mother shrieked, pointing at me. We were a broken record, a terrible broken record stuck on the same ugly notes: hate, blame, lies. My grandmother Eleanor was just watching. She was the only still point in the room. She was watching me. Her face was, I don't know, not proud, not sad, just certain. I had done what I came here to do. The binder was empty. The truth was out. There was nothing left to say. I picked up my purse from the floor. I looked at the black binder, its contents scattered across the table. I didn't need it anymore. "You're leaving?" my father said. He said it as if I were committing another crime. "You do this, and you just walk away?" "My part is over, Dad," I said. "This is your mess. I'm not the janitor anymore." I started to walk toward the hall. "You are no daughter of mine," my mother whispered, her voice pure poison. I stopped. I turned. "You're right," I said. "I'm not." I was just about to take a step toward the front door, and then knock, knock, knock. It wasn't a friendly knock. It wasn't a "hello, I brought a pie" knock. It was a sharp, hard, official knock. We all froze. Even Megan stopped crying, her head snapping up. The sound was terrifying. It was the sound of the outside world breaking in. Knock, knock, knock. Who is that?" my mother whispered, her eyes wide with fear. No one moved. We just looked at the front door. Knock, 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 knock. It was more insistent now. "Robert, get the door," my grandmother said, her voice like steel. My father looked at the door as if it were a venomous snake. He looked at me, his eyes wild. Did you do this? Did you call someone?" Did he think I'd called the police? "I have no idea who that is," I said. And I didn't. But my heart was pounding. My father walked slowly to the front door, wiping his sweaty hands on his pants. He opened it. A woman was standing on the porch. She was not a family friend. She was not a neighbor. She was wearing a plain gray suit and a white blouse. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun. She had a plain, unremarkable face, and she was holding a leather portfolio. She looked official, and she looked tired, like she had seen this all before. "Good afternoon," the woman said, her voice flat. "Are you Robert Evans?" Yes, my father said. "And Susan Evans?" The woman looked past him at my mother, who was hiding behind her hands. "Yes," my mother whispered. The woman in the suit held up a small leather wallet and flipped it open. A badge glinted under the porch light. "My name is Agent Riley," she said. "I'm from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Economic Crimes Division." My mother made a small, gasping sound, like a cornered animal. The FBI?" my father stammered. There must be some mistake. We're having Thanksgiving dinner." "It's a holiday." "I'm aware of the date, Mr. Evans," Agent Riley said. She didn't smile. "May I come in? I need to ask you a few questions regarding your mortgage records." "Mortgage records?" My father's face went from purple to white. He looked like a ghost. He couldn't move. Agent Riley just sighed. She stepped past him into the entryway, not waiting for an invitation. She walked to the edge of the dining room and took in the scene. The table covered in food and papers. The foreclosure notices. My sister crying, her makeup ruined. My grandmother silent in her chair. Me standing by the door with my purse. She was an analyst just like me. "Mr. and Mrs. Evans," she said, "I'm investigating a series of high-interest loans, and potential bank fraud related to the lender you used for your second mortgage. Your file was flagged. We've seen irregularities. We have reason to believe you provided fraudulent documents in a recent refinance application. Irregularities. I suddenly remembered the papers Mrs. Diaz, my lawyer, had shown me, the ones they had tried to get me to sign. This is designed to protect the bank. Oh my God, they hadn't just tried to trick me. They had tried to trick the bank, the refinance paperwork. It wasn't just to pass the debt. It was probably fraudulent. They were likely trying to get a new loan, using me as a co-signer without my full knowledge. My refusal to sign must have triggered an audit. I thought I was the victim, but I was just a tool. My no had accidentally exposed their crime. The relatives who had been sneaking out were still in the living room, frozen by the knock. Now they really moved. We were just leaving. So sorry, Susan, we've got to. They scurried out the door, not wanting to be witnesses, not wanting the FBI to see their faces. The room went still. My mother and father just stood there like statues. My sister Megan was still sobbing. My grandmother Eleanor did the only kind thing I had seen all day. She stood up, walked over to Megan, and rested a firm, solid hand on her shoulder. Agent Riley looked at me. "And you are?" "I'm Clara Evans," I said. "The daughter." "The other daughter," my mother spat. Agent Riley looked at my mother, then back at me. "I'll need you to stay," she said to me. "I have a copy of a loan application with your forged signature on it. You might be a witness." Forged. My father finally moved. He looked at me. The hate was gone. The anger was gone. Now there was only terror. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt done. The lies were over. The screaming was over. I didn't have to say another word. The truth had arrived in a plain gray suit. The truth had a badge. The silence in the room was absolute. And in that silence, Agent Riley opened her portfolio. I stayed. I sat at that broken, messy table for 3 more hours. Agent Riley was not emotional. She was a machine. She asked questions. She separated us. She put my parents in the living room. Me, Megan, and my grandmother, who refused to leave, stayed in the dining room. I couldn't hear the words, but I heard the tones. I heard my father's voice, high and pleading. I heard my mother's voice, crying and hysterical. Then Agent Riley came to me. She sat down and looked at the papers on the table. "These are yours?" she asked, pointing at the foreclosure notices. "Yes," I said. "Where did you get them?" "Public records. I'm a data scientist." "And the file from 6 months ago, the one you mentioned?" "My lawyer has a copy," I said. "What's your lawyer's name?" I told her. Agent Riley made a phone call. She just listened. Then she said, "Thank you, Mrs. Diaz." She looked at me, her face unreadable. "They tried to get you to sign this and you said no." "Yes. And then they filed a new application with your signature. I didn't sign it." "I know," she said. She nodded once. "Okay." She asked Megan questions. Megan just sobbed. "I didn't know. I didn't know anything. They told me it was a gift." Agent Riley was gentle with her. She saw the victim. Finally, after midnight, she left. She didn't arrest anyone, not that night. She just said, "Mr. and Mrs. Evans, do not leave town. You will be hearing from our office. You will need a lawyer, a good one." Then she looked at me and at Megan. "You two, you should probably find somewhere else to be." She left. My parents collapsed. They looked old. They looked like empty bags. I looked at Megan. She was covered in mascara. Her red dress was ruined. "Come on," I said. "What?" she whispered. "You can't stay here. Come with me." My grandmother nodded. "Go with her, Megan. Go." I took my sister's hand. She was shaking. I pulled her up and walked her out of that house. I put her in my car. I didn't look back at my parents. I drove us to a hotel and paid for the room. I got her a toothbrush. She didn't speak the whole time, just cried silently. She got in one bed, I got in the other. We slept. The next few weeks were a blur. The bank, once the FBI was involved, moved fast. They seized the house. A for sale sign went up, but it wasn't a normal sale. It was a bank auction. It sold fast for almost nothing. My parents were ruined, legally and financially. They were facing charges, bank fraud, conspiracy, forgery. They didn't go to jail, not in the end. They were old. The case was complicated. They took a plea bargain. They lost everything, the house, their savings, their reputation. They had to move. They downsized quietly. They now live in a small, one-bedroom apartment, the kind of place they always look down on, the kind of place that's smaller than mine. My grandmother Eleanor went to live with my Aunt Karen. She was fine. She had her own money. She had just been watching the show. And Megan stayed in that hotel room for 2 days. Then she went to stay with a friend. Kevin never came back. His wealth was managed. He didn't want to be associated with a family with an FBI file. Megan lost the fiancé. She lost the house. She lost the life she thought she was getting. She hit rock bottom, hard. And then she did something I never thought she could do. She started to climb. She got a job, a real job, not one my dad got for her. She was a waitress, and she started therapy. I didn't hear from her for a long time, all through December, all through January. Then, one night in February, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Hello? Clara? It was her, Megan. Her voice was different. It wasn't the bright, fake, golden girl voice. It was quiet. It was raw. It was human. Hi, Megan, I said. We were quiet for a second. I'm in therapy, she said. My therapist said I should call you when I was ready. Okay, I said. I heard her take a shaky breath. I'm so sorry, Clara, she whispered, and she started to cry. But it was a different cry. It was the cry of regret. I'm sorry for everything, for my whole life, for how I treated you. I was awful. And Megan, it's okay. No, let me say it, she said. I saw what they did to you. I saw it my whole life, and I liked it. Because it meant I was the special one. It meant I was safe. I thought you were just jealous. She was sobbing now. And then, at that dinner when you put those papers down, I hated you. I hated you so much. I know, I said, but I was wrong. I was so stupid. They lied to me my whole life. They lied. Yes, I said, they did. I didn't know, she whispered, about the debt, about the foreclosure, about what they tried to do to you. I didn't know. Her voice was so small. I had dreamed of this moment, the moment my sister would finally see me. And now that it was here, it didn't feel like a victory. It just felt sad. I know, I said, my voice gentle. I know you didn't, but now you do. There was another silence. Thank you, she said. I was confused. For what? For that night, for stopping it. You blew up my life. But you saved me, Clara. You saved me from them. We talked. For the first time, we really talked. I don't know if Megan and I will ever be friends. We'll never be sisters in the way people mean it. There is too much history, too much pain. But we're not enemies. Not anymore. I never sought revenge on my family. I never wanted to ruin them. I just wanted the truth. I wanted clarity. I learned that the truth isn't cruelty, even when it's ugly, even when it hurts. The truth is just freedom. My parents, they will never speak to me again. I am the monster. I am the one who ruined everything, and I'm okay with that. I am still Clara Evans. I am 32. I live in Denver. I have my quiet, small life, but I'm not the janitor anymore. I'm not the reliable one. I'm not the invisible daughter. I'm just me. And I've learned that silence, the silence I lived in for 32 years. It's not weakness. Silence when you use it right. Silence when you finally break it. It speaks louder than any scream.